ندعوكم الآن للانتقال في برنامج اليوم، ونبدأ مع الكلمة الافتتاحية الرئيسية المقدمة مع أنطوان كنعان، المدير التنفيذي في حقل الذكاء الاصطناعي القانوني، بعنوان إطلاق العنان للذكاء السيادي عبر الأسواق العامة والخاصة.
Good morning, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear colleagues. It is an honor to be with you today in Muscat. We're living through a very particular moment in history where technology is far outpacing our ability to imagine. And this is the scary part about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is not just a technology that you can predict. It's something you can't see beyond. It's something where the imagination cannot begin to understand the reality, where it is so big we can't really begin to understand any part of it, to be fair. And yet it is very impactful to the point where it impacts all of our lives, day in and day out. Although this is a keynote speech, I'd like to break some rules. Please raise your hands if you've used AI in the past 24 hours. Basically, everyone in the room has used AI in the past 24 hours. This is a technology in its infancy. It is not an application, it is not an idea, it is a real, hard technology that is based on math, physics, and science. It is also based on capital. It is based on infrastructure, it is based on investment, and it is based on the idea of sovereignty. And this is the discussion of today. How can Oman leverage artificial intelligence and use AI in a sovereign manner for both its public and private markets? Let's begin by understanding what sovereign intelligence really means. Sovereign intelligence means owning your artificial intelligence. It means being in control of your artificial intelligence. It means having the ownership and the foresight to use it in a way and deploy it in a way and build it in a way that makes sense, that puts you in the driver's seat, that makes you in control. هو ذكاء اصطناعي سيادي in Arabic. Sovereign intelligence. And sovereign intelligence is a core concept that most people haven't really heard about. And it's made up of 5 layers of sovereign intelligence. Because AI is not just ChatGPT. AI is not just a chatbot. AI is not just an application. It's not even just HAQQ. AI is infrastructure. AI is energy. AI is chips. AI is data. And finally, AI is the application. And these really are the levels and layers of artificial intelligence. You have the energy required because AI consumes a lot of energy. You have the infrastructure needed because AI requires massive infrastructure, both in terms of data centers, in terms of cooling, in terms of real estate, and also in terms of chips, silicon, rare earth metals. It is not software. AI is very much hardware. It is something real. It is something you can touch. You just have to go to the nearest data center and you can see how big AI can be. It's as big as cities and bigger than some countries. And it's only getting bigger. With plans to deploy infrastructure in space and in orbit to develop artificial intelligence, maintain it. It's very much like a hive mind. And here becomes the 3rd layer of intelligence, which is data. Data is very important. Data is very important. Data is proprietary, and most people don't even know how to record data. Most people don't even know how to value data. Not only do we give away our data for free, we pay people to take our data. Every time one of you spends $20 on ChatGPT, you're paying an American company to take your data. And you're giving it willingly. And you use it every single day. And this is the hypocrisy of data security. Because data security is all about owning your data, and yet we pay foreign companies to come and take it, and to train on it, and to be even better, and to eventually replace us. This is the irony and the hypocrisy. After the data, which is proprietary, which is mostly unrecorded, and we'll talk about data, we'll talk about each layer in depth. After the data comes the actual intelligence, the engine of intelligence, the model themselves. These are proprietary. This is the actual engine that a computer, an infrastructure, a server uses to learn and to develop intelligence. And I use intelligence lightly because it's not much different than a talking parrot. And then finally, it's the application layer. It's how you interface with AI. It's how do you actually use it and what do you use it for. And this is the part that most people see. It's when you open up your phone and then you have ChatGPT or Copilot or HAQQ. And that's the application layer. It's what you see. It's the nice UI, it's nice software, and you think, it has a nice software, I can use it, I can talk to it, it talks back to me, it's good enough. But that's really just the last layer of AI, and then you have a massive well beneath, which has the other 4 layers. And it's very important that we understand what sovereignty means with relation to AI. Sovereign AI or sovereign intelligence, الذكاء السيادي, means any given entity, whether a government or a country or a company or even a person, owning 3 or more layers of the 5 layers of intelligence. Owning the energy, owning the infrastructure, owning the data, owning the model, and owning the application. You can't have sovereign intelligence without owning at least 3 out of 5. I mentioned this statistic yesterday, but I wonder how many were here. Does anyone know how many countries actually have sovereign intelligence? So we're gonna do it by raising of hands. Who thinks more than 100 countries have sovereign intelligence? No one. Who thinks more than 10 countries have sovereign intelligence? No hands? One person? Good. Who thinks more than 5 countries have sovereign intelligence? A few hands in the back. The truth is, there are only 3 countries in the world with sovereign intelligence. The United States, China, and France. The United States, China, and France are the only 3 countries with sovereign intelligence. Not even Germany, not even Japan. Only the United States, China, and France. In the Middle East, there are efforts by the UAE and KSA to develop and deploy sovereign intelligence through initiatives like K2 and Humane. And it's mainly targeted at the infrastructure layer, and the energy layer, and the application layer. So far, these efforts have not yet materialized. There's a massive gap, because whoever owns intelligence will own the future. And this is a matter of risk and national security. Whoever owns intelligence will own the future. There's a very simple reason for that. If AI can make you finish a day's work in 1 minute, then you take that and you multiply it by 1.4 billion people in China. Suddenly, it's as if they had 20 billion people or 100 billion people. That's how effective AI can be. It's a massive force multiplier. And then any country that's using AI without sovereignty is actually funding its own destruction, and it's funding the development of and the advancement of a different country. And this compounds very quickly, and this is a race to the bottom, and whoever gets there first wins. And that's really the problem with artificial intelligence, is that it is very capital intensive. You need a lot of energy, you need a lot of infrastructure, you need a lot of data, you need a very smart model, and you need applications that people actually want to use. That's why only 3 countries have done it, because it is very, 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 very difficult. And that's also why 5 US companies alone are spending the equivalent of the GDP of the MENA region in 1 year on AI. They're spending $600 billion on capital expenditure for artificial intelligence just to develop the infrastructure. This is humanity's greatest project. Not even the pyramids. You look at the pyramids, they're massive, right? But the pyramids are nothing compared to AI. The pyramids are small scale. AI is much bigger. It has the highest talent density, the highest capital density, the highest risk involved, and the greatest reward of anything we've ever done. And the truth is, most people don't even know the game that's being played. Most people think AI is just a chatbot. Most people think AI is just something you use. But the truth is, AI has to be sovereign. And this is really the core of what we're trying to achieve as HAQQ with HAQQ, because we desire that the Sultanate of Oman achieve Vision 2040 with sovereign intelligence at play. And this is the core of our partnership with HAQQ that we signed yesterday on stage. But to really go deep into it, I hope I have illustrated so far why sovereign intelligence is such an important topic and why it is imperative that we take this seriously. There is still not a single Gulf leader that has sovereign intelligence. And so the race is still going, and there's still a chance for someone to be crowned the winner. And hopefully it will be Oman. The core idea of sovereign intelligence is that it really solidifies a nation's place in history, because it allows a country to leverage its assets, its data, and its people, and its resources in a much more effective way. And this can be done not just for countries, it can be done for companies. And so far, what HAQQ has done is we've done this successfully with more than 7,000 companies, where we've developed the ontology of intelligence for these companies. We take all the data that this company produces, whether it is data that's being recorded, or data that has yet to be recorded, or data that they don't even know exists. We take this data, we compile it, we protect it, we secure it, and we empower the organization to leverage this data for future success. We empower this organization to massively drive down costs, massively drive up productivity, and really leverage this data so that as a corporate entity, as a sovereign entity, it is using sovereign intelligence on a customized model, on a customized engine, with its own data, with its own infrastructure, with its own energy, and deploying it for its use cases and for its benefit. And that's why we're very proud to report that HAQQ has some of the best clients, and our clients are actually really progressing really quickly in the age of AI because of our technologies. And how does this really play into the public and private sectors in Oman? You can see AI and sovereign AI playing a big role in the justice ecosystem. You can say sovereign AI playing a big role in courts, بالمحاكم, a massive role. Legal AI can play a massive role, because right now, worldwide, there are 8 billion people. 5 of the 8 billion people do not have the resources to contact the justice system. 5 billion people cannot access justice. 5 billion people cannot afford a lawyer, cannot afford going to court. And that's because court is expensive, because lawyers are expensive, because we're trading time for a service. AI can, at a fundamental level, decouple this. And it can take what is a human good and a human right and make the delivery free. Free of charge, free of time, and free of any friction. we can make the delivery of justice automated with the use of artificial intelligence. We can use artificial intelligence so that plaintiffs plead the court through digital systems. The court analyzes the data. The court determines if any information is missing. The court may reject or accept the plea, and the court may deliberate on the plea, all through the use of artificial intelligence without any person involved. The judge will have a role such that they review the output of the artificial intelligence, and then they either approve or reject. And this is the core element of a human in the loop. But what we can do is we can take this lengthy process that takes months or even years and bring it down so that it takes minutes or even hours. We can do the same thing for almost every other legal service. We can really enable a massively brilliant age of productivity and economic activity by driving the cost down for legal services, which will increase the demand tremendously. Because there are more people who cannot access legal services than there are people who can. And by bringing the cost down, you're effectively, as a legal industry, increasing your market share from 37% of the human population to 100% of the human population, which will continue to grow into the future. And so, you cannot effectively achieve a digitized future for justice without having the sovereign intelligence at play. Because this data is private, this data is secure, this data is confidential, this data is for the public, and it is owned by the state. And you cannot use any AI system to do this unless it is a sovereign AI system deployed inside the Sultanate on Omani infrastructure using Omani energy, Omani data, Omani models, and Omani applications. And so this becomes a piece of critical infrastructure because it can also tremendously increase the output of companies. Companies that use artificial intelligence can overnight 10x their revenue, 10x their productivity by 10, a factor of 10, overnight with existing systems, with existing technologies. As time goes on, every 2 years, the cost of artificial intelligence will be brought down by 100%. This is a technology that's getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper by the day to access. It's also a technology that's getting more and more and more and more powerful by the day. But what remains to be seen is who captures the most value up front. Which company captures the most value up front? Which country captures the most value up front and gets this massive head start in the AI race? Some of you may remember the space race between the US and the Soviet Union, which was a race to see who would get to the moon first. It really was a race. And this is an even bigger race. It's an even bigger race because this actually affects human society. It affects markets, it affects countries, it affects sovereignty, and it affects the way we live our lives. And so the choice really is in your hands. There is no room to wait. Those who wait will be left behind. If we wait for a regulation to come and support, we will be left behind. If we wait for people to lead the way, we will be left behind. If we wait for anyone but ourselves to come and do the mission and achieve sovereign intelligence, either in our country or in our companies, we will be left behind. And maybe we will be forgotten. And that's not something we want. We want to be the first, we want to be the best, and we want to be the leaders today and always, just as we have always been. And that's why I really must impress upon you the urgency of action, the urgency of trying. There's no risk in trying. There's no risk in trying AI systems, whether in your companies, whether in your personal lives, whether in going into new ventures or investments. There's no risk. The only risk is waiting for regulation that will come 1 or 2 years down the line for something that is already outdated. That's the risk. While others take all the benefits. And so, I invite you to take the jump. I invite you to take this adventure and to take the opportunity that's right in front of you. Deploy sovereign intelligence as provided today. Deploy artificial intelligence. Deploy legal intelligence as provided today to supercharge your work, to seize the opportunity, and to become the market leaders you were meant to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Antoine, do you have any questions?
Thank you for the presentation, for the delivery of these great insights. Regarding the sovereign AI, so in what capacity should countries take into consideration making this happening? If we talk about the first initiatives that such a country have to take, is it a national level? Is it at a company level? Is it like initiatives by maybe the attitude of the let's say of the individuals maybe? So to give it a start, to make something sovereign in a country, or is it like a very sovereign decision that the country have to take? Because we are talking about low scale in the first maybe, and the large scale will come maybe later on. So if you can elaborate about the baby steps, if we can name them, that a country want to take initiative that is acceptable maybe money-wise, that would be really helpful for the audience here today. Thank you.
Thank you for this brilliant question. It really is a brilliant question because it's actionable and you can use it basically like a 5-step program, and you can start with it today. I want to start by saying, when I say sovereign, I mean that you are sovereign of yourselves. Sovereignty is not just for countries or governments. Sovereignty is for corporations and individuals. Sovereignty is knowing who you are, what you have, and deciding your own future. And I think we all have the free will to make that choice, either as people or as companies or as governments. You do not have to wait for sovereign intelligence to come from the government. You can begin today as a company. You can begin today as individuals. And I will elaborate on that even more. Like I said, there are 5 layers of intelligence, and you only need 3 out of the 5 to be sovereign. And the easiest 3 to be sovereign over is infrastructure, it's data, and its application. These are the easiest 3: infrastructure, data, and application. And I'll tell you why. Because energy is not something a company can really control unless they deploy hundreds of billions of dollars, which some companies are, by the way, but that's besides the point. And and the engine of intelligence, the models themselves, require very high talent density. Very high talent density, which is why some companies are paying upwards of $1 billion per AI researcher as a salary of $1 billion per AI researcher, because the talent war is intense and there requires a very high talent density to actually develop your own engine. I'm very happy to announce actually that HAQQ is one of the few companies, maybe the only company here today, that has its own engine of intelligence called Justinian. This is an engine we have developed internally specifically for legal use. And this gives us sovereignty over our ability to service our clients. Having said that, your best choice is to partner with a company that has sovereignty over its intelligence over its model, over its engine, and to use that engine and to deploy it on your infrastructure, on your data, and on your applications. And this is really the partnership that you can use today to develop sovereign intelligence in your companies. You can leverage existing energy, you can leverage your infrastructure, your data, and your applications. Most companies use ChatGPT or something else. Very few companies have sovereignty over their own intelligence, so your options are currently limited in the market, but at the end of the day, the choice is still there. And so you would talk to one of these companies, either HAQQ or someone else, you would talk to one of these companies and you would procure their intelligence system and you would deploy it on your infrastructure, your data, and your applications so that this intelligence system can power your work and can actually help you take your business or your company to the next level in terms of efficiency, productivity, and gains. I hope I answered your question. Thank you. I think there was a question over here, correct?
This is Rima Rawahi from HAQQ Exploration and Prediction SAOG. From your side, I know where you're coming from. You're trying to develop faster processes to enable people to go faster in their work because we're in a world that goes really fast. Maybe we need to pause and think we still need to have that sensational matter in mind while we're building this development.
So I appreciate your comment, but I'm actually quite sympathetic to the people, but especially to the people that can't afford legal services the way they are today. That's who I'm sympathetic to. I'm sympathetic to the foreign worker that is facing abuse in their job, but they can't sue. That's who I'm sympathetic to. I'm very sympathetic to young children who are abused and in dire straits, but they can't sue. That's who I'm sympathetic to. And I think that's who AI is sympathetic to as well. I think anyone who does not have access to justice, who's been living in a very, very dark reality, I think they need more than sympathy. I think they need help. Currently, the system is not designed to help them. The system has been going on for thousands of years because that's human nature. And we finally have a way to actually deliver justice to these people and to help them. And I don't think if we have that way, we should be pausing and thinking about sympathy. We should be rushing and doing sympathy.
Good morning, Mr. Antoine. This is Varun from Sadat International. Thank you. So my question is, does your platform customize as per industry? Because every industry has a very specific requirement in terms of structuring their legal contracts. So does it work something like a ChatGPT where you can give some certain prompts, basis the industry and the contract you want to, and it helps you navigate through it?
So I'm going to repeat your question just so I understood it correctly. You're asking if our chatbot that's publicly available has access to legal information from different countries, correct?
That's right.
Yes, it does. That's why it's an AI that is legal specific. It's a legal specific AI. But I do want to go back to the previous question because you mentioned something about replacement. No one's talking about replacing lawyers. Not in a sovereign sense, not in a justice sense. I think humans are the core of it. We just need to empower more humans to do more work. And that is the core of what we're discussing today. I think any law firm of 10 or 15 people or 20 people knows what it's like to come in at 6 a.m. in the morning and not leave before 8 p.m. because there's a lot of work. And still there are clients that you can't service. And that's the reality. The reality is by driving the actual cost, not the price. In a free market, you can price however you want. And there will always be opportunities because you can't work on a multi-billion-dollar deal and then say, I only want to charge you $1 an hour, right? It doesn't work that way. Price of service is also related to value, not just to cost. But by driving the cost down, we increase the total value and the total volume for everyone involved, and everyone will live a much more prosperous life. As lawyers, you understand people are your greatest asset. The firm with the most people usually wins because they have more resources to deploy. What AI can do is it can amplify that even more. And it can bring the cost down, allowing you to service even more markets, even more people, and even more industries and segments. Only if it is a sovereign AI that knows the data and knows the laws and protects your confidentiality and your trade secrets.
Do you have any more questions? Last question. If you can please introduce your name.
السلام عليكم وزاهر راشدي جامعة سلطان قابوس. As per your discussion about data sovereignty and how do we deal with it, we need to have or maybe better understanding of what are the bases that we need to build in Oman to start our journey in sovereignty our data. Because as per we know that we need to have our initiatives in cloud, and also we enforcing some rules and regulations of data migrations, and the way that we treat our data privacies. So, and the second question, what motivates HAQQ to start their own data sovereignty? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think a great place to start is by looking at successful models in other countries. Looking at European GDPR, looking at SOC 2, looking at ISO. At the end of the day, data sovereignty is a consensus-based matter. Data protection is consensus-based. It is the fact that everyone is following the same rules. And this is what creates predictability. This is what creates ease of doing business. And this is what creates transparency in flagging risks, transparency in detecting problems, and velocity in fixing any problems before they even arise. In my view, Oman can definitely, for sure, look at European GDPR, they can look at ISO, they can look at SOC 2, and any one of these international standards is really good. You can also look at regional private data protection laws instituted in each country and potentially work on developing a unified data governance framework across the GCC. That would be very interesting. Having said that, our motivation for protecting data and implementing a sense of data sovereignty comes from the fact that we understand this industry very well. We understand exactly how important data compliance is. We understand exactly how important it is to safeguard data, to protect data. We understand how important it is for you from a business perspective, from a reputational perspective, from a compliance perspective, to safeguard and protect your data and your client's data. Because we understand data, we understand the risks when data is leaked, and we understand the rewards when data is utilized and leveraged by a sovereign entity in a sovereign way. At the end of the day, HAQQ is here to provide value to companies, to individuals, to governments, and we can provide the most value by aligning on your interests and requirements and needs for data protection and governance and sovereignty so that we can deliver that value along the same axis and lines. Thank you so much. Any more questions we can take? Yes?
Talent gap seems to come up a lot.
Can you please raise your voice?
Can you hear me?
Much better, thank you.
Okay, talent gap seems to come up a lot, and I'll ask this question directly to you. If you were to recruit your future lawyer, what skill sets would you be looking for in the age of AI? And if you can be more detailed about the skill sets, the qualifications, and experience that you would hope to have in your future lawyer.
I can definitely answer that because we have a lot of lawyers. HAQQ is in 80 plus countries. That means 80 plus law firms. And we have a basic guideline internally that our head of legal, Maitre Abbas Kabalan, he's my co-founder, that we use whenever we want to pick a lawyer or pick a law firm. We definitely look at industry experience. We look at compliance with data. And most importantly, and this is much more important than compliance, we look at tech savviness. It's very important because we want our thing now. I don't want to wait 3 weeks for a contract. Deals are closed overnight. Deals close at 1 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., you know? This is how it is. And it's not just business deals. Sometimes you need to make a very important key hire. Sometimes you need to procure certain resources. You need legal services on the go. And being on the go makes it much more valuable to us, which is why we as a company pay a massive premium to our lawyers. We want the best. We want the fastest. And we want the most tech-enabled services.
I think we're good, Antoine. Thank you very much for a lovely presentation. If we can please thank Antoine. Thank you very much, Mr. Antoine, CEO and co-founder of HAQQ AI. If you have any questions, anything you're curious about, the entire team is at their booth number 1, right at the left. You can please meet them.
Thank you all very much for this lovely opportunity and for the wonderful questions. And thank you, Jamal and Abbas, for organizing this event. We're very proud of what's been done in this event. Thank you very much.